Britain's roads are, to put it mildly, in a pretty terrible state. In fact, a new report calls them a national disgrace. This is way more than just a bumpy ride. It's a massive problem with an absolutely staggering price tag. So what on earth is going wrong with Britain's roads? Let's get into it.
I mean, who hasn't done this, right? You're swerving, you're slowing down, you're trying to save your car's suspension from what feels like a minefield of potholes. This quote from a driver just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that daily battle we all seem to face. And this is the number that just blows your mind. A record-breaking 18.6 billion pounds. That's the official estimate of what it would cost to get the local roads in England and Wales back into what you'd call a reasonable condition. It's an almost unimaginable amount of money just for repairs. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First up, we're going to look at just how bad the problem really is. Then, we'll dig into why the roads are crumbling. After that, we'll see how the UK stacks up against other countries. And finally, we'll ask the big one. Can this mess even be fixed? Okay, so let's dive right in and try to get our heads around the true scale of this problem. Just how deep does the damage go? Well, the latest report paints a very, very bleak picture. So, how often does a road get some proper love and attention? And look, we're not just talking about patching up a pothole here and there. We mean a full resurfacing, a complete overhaul. Well, the report found that on average, a road only gets this treatment once every 97 years. Let that sink in for a second. 97 years. To really put that in perspective, a road being resurfaced today might not have had a proper job done on it since 1929, the year of the Wall Street crash. And if that trend continues, it might not get resurfaced again until the year 2123. It's literally a once-in-a-lifetime event. And this isn't some far-off problem for our great-grandchildren to deal with. The report says that right now, over 32,000 miles of our local roads are on the brink, with less than 5 years of usable life left in them. That means a huge chunk of our network is basically on life support. And if you're struggling to picture just how much road that is, try this for a visual. If you took all of those crumbling roads and stuck them end to end, you could drive around the entire planet 1.3 times. It'd be a pretty miserable drive, but wow, it shows you the staggering length of road we're talking about. Okay, so that's the what. Now for the why. How on earth did we get into this mess? Well, it's a mix of things. The weather, traffic, but as you're about to see, one problem stands head and shoulders above the rest. All right, quick science lesson. It all starts with the British weather. No surprise there. You get tiny cracks in the road surface. Rain gets in. Then, in the winter, that water freezes and expands, which forces the cracks to get bigger. And finally, the constant weight of cars and trucks just breaks that weakened surface apart. And voila, you've got a pothole. But here's the thing. You can't just blame the rain. The real culprit is something experts call a backlog of maintenance. For years and years, under different governments, there just hasn't been enough money put into fixing our aging roads. It's a classic case of kicking the can down the road, and now we're paying a much, much bigger price for it. We're constantly just playing catch-up. Okay, so we know the UK has a problem. But how bad are we talking? Really? Compared to everyone else. Are other rainy countries handling this any better? Well, if you look at the global rankings for road quality, the UK lands at, well, a pretty mediocre 26th place. I mean, we're not at the very bottom, but we're way behind top-tier countries like Singapore and Switzerland, and even trailing behind European neighbors like Spain. So what are those top countries doing differently? Well, for one, they're getting creative. In Switzerland, they actually build temporary bridges over the road so traffic can keep flowing while they do major repairs underneath. And in Singapore, they use AI-powered cameras to find tiny cracks before they even turn into potholes. Smart, proactive stuff. Which leads us to the big one, the multi-billion-pound question. With this gigantic backlog, can Britain's roads actually be fixed? And as you can probably guess, the answer really just comes down to cash. And this chart, this just lays it all out plain and simple. On the one hand, you've got the local councils, the people who actually fix the roads, saying they need that huge 18.6 billion pounds. But on the other, you have the government's commitment over the next 4 years, just 7 billion. That leaves a gap, an 11 billion pound hole in the plan. Now, to be fair, it's not like nobody's out there working. Repair crews are incredibly busy. In fact, over the last year alone, they managed to fill a total of 1.9 million potholes across England and Wales. But here's where you see the sheer scale of the challenge. Fixing 1.9 million potholes, that's about 5,000 every single day, is a massive effort. But it barely scratches the surface when the total bill for the deep structural repairs needed is that colossal 18.6 billion pounds. It really is like trying to empty an ocean with a bucket.
And if that 18.6 billion pound number still feels a bit abstract, think of it this way. The money needed just to fix our local roads is more than the entire annual budget for the UK's Ministry of Justice. That's how deep this financial hole has become.
So it all comes down to this, really. A very personal question. If the average road only gets a proper fix once every century, and the money isn't there to clear the backlog, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When will the road right outside your own front door finally get the attention it so desperately needs?